I used to think family was forever. But forever feels long when you're the only one who remembers. It was an ordinary Saturday in Denver, cold, quiet, colorless. I had just finished folding laundry at the self-service laundromat down the street when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. But then I saw the name, Grace. My cousin. She hadn't messaged me directly in over a year. Probably still hadn't. It was a group story, one of those, close friends only, posts. I clicked out of habit. And there it was. A long dinner table. White tablecloth. Clinking glasses. Candles glowing. My family, smiling, laughing, huddled together in warmth and celebration. A family reunion. Everyone was there. Except me. They didn't forget. That would have hurt less. No, forgetting would mean they tried and failed. This was worse. This was intentional. Calculated silence. A collective decision. Let's not tell Eli. Growing up, I was always called the quiet one. While my brothers wrestled in the yard and my cousins played pranks, I stayed inside, reading library books. I didn't seek attention. I didn't cause trouble. I got straight A's, kept my room clean, followed every rule. But somehow, that just made me forgettable. My father used to say, "You're a smart kid, Eli. But you've got to learn to live a little." When I got into college, no one celebrated. When I graduated, first in the family, mind you, no one showed up. They were all at my brother Noah's engagement party that day. He didn't even graduate high school. I've tried, year after year, to make peace with it. I bought birthday gifts. Sent Christmas cards. Paid off mom's medical bill once without anyone knowing. I showed up, even when I wasn't asked to. I stayed quiet, even when it stung. Still, somehow, I was always the afterthought. The spare. The invisible one in family photos. Staring at that image on my phone, the wine glasses, the hugs, the cake with "family first" piped in icing, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Shame. Not anger. Not jealousy. Just that sinking, sour feeling of not belonging. Of being uninvited to your own life. I sat there for a long while. The laundry forgotten. The city humming quietly outside my window. Then, without thinking much, I grabbed my coat, keys, and wallet. Drove through light snow, past half-lit billboards and tired stoplights. I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I just needed to see them. To confirm what I already knew, I wasn't welcome. The restaurant wasn't far, just outside downtown. A trendy steakhouse with overpriced everything and waitlists booked weeks in advance. But my family? They were in there. They knew someone. They always did. I parked across the street. And watched. Through the wide glass window, I could see them, dozens of them. Uncles, aunts, cousins, siblings. Raising glasses. Taking selfies. Hugging like it was Thanksgiving and Christmas rolled into one. I wasn't in any of the pictures. I walked up to the side entrance and spoke to the hostess. "Table for one, outside, please," I said. "Away from the windows." She looked confused. "It's cold tonight." I nodded. "That's fine." They sat me on the patio. Alone. My coat zipped up. Fingers curled around a warm glass of water. I ordered grilled chicken and mashed potatoes, something plain, familiar. And I sat there, eating slowly, watching my own family laugh and clink forks just 20 feet away. Not once did anyone look outside. Not once did anyone notice me. I reached into my wallet and pulled out an old photo. Thanksgiving, 1999. All of us at Grandma's. Everyone smiling around the table. Me? I was barely visible. Half my face was blocked by a lamp. I hadn't even realized I was hidden until years later. Some things never change. I stared at that photo, then at the window. Inside, my dad was raising a toast. My sister wiped away tears, laughing. My mother was clapping. Probably for someone else. I swallowed the last bite of mashed potatoes. They were lukewarm by then. And I whispered to myself, cheers to being forgotten. I didn't leave right away. I stayed in my seat, outside the restaurant, with the cold air pressing against my skin like a silent reminder that I wasn't welcome inside. Through the large windows, I watched them. My family. Laughing. Drinking. Living in a world where I didn't exist. Then I saw Noah, my brother, stand up with a glass in hand. He cleared his throat, smiled at everyone, and began a toast. I sat forward. Maybe, just maybe, he would mention me. He thanked his wife, Rachel, for organizing the dinner. He thanked Mom for keeping the family together. He thanked a cousin for flying in from Oregon. He never said my name. I leaned back in my chair. I shouldn't have expected anything. But a part of me did. That part of me that still believed I belonged. Then I noticed something. At the far end of the table, there was an empty chair. Perfectly set. Napkin folded. Glass untouched. For 1 second, my heart stopped. Did they actually leave a seat for me? But then Aunt Marla stood up and tossed her purse on it. So much for that. I looked down at my hands. They were trembling. Not because of the cold. Because of the weight. The weight of being invisible. I thought about walking in. About showing up and seeing their faces. What would they do? Smile awkwardly? Pretend they were just about to call me? Offer me dessert like I was some lost neighbor who wandered into the wrong party? No. It wouldn't be real. It would be pity. I'd rather stay outside. The server came out, carrying a tray of wine. He glanced at me, surprised to see someone dining alone on a cold patio. He offered a polite smile. Can I get you anything else, sir? I shook my head. No. I'm good. Inside, they were toasting again. Someone must have cracked a joke. I could see my dad laughing loudly. Head tilted back, mouth wide open, like he didn't have a care in the world. I used to think that laugh meant joy. Now I know it means forgetfulness. I remembered something suddenly. A moment from years ago. At Grandpa's funeral. I cried during the eulogy. I was 15. Afterward, my dad pulled my younger cousin aside. Pointed at me. Said, "Don't be like Eli. Real men don't cry." I cried in my room that night. Door shut. Lights off. No one saw. Just like always. My phone vibrated on the table. I looked down. It was another post in the family group chat. The one I was never added to. The caption read, "So much love in one room tonight, 2 hearts." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I looked around. At the empty patio. The untouched food. The shadows dancing in the frost on the window. So much love. Sure. Just not for me. Eventually, I stood up. Not because I wanted to leave. Because I couldn't stay any longer. Before walking away, I looked through the glass one last time. My mom was hugging Rachel. My father was showing someone a video on his phone. No one looked outside. No one saw me. No one ever does. I had just stepped off the patio when I heard footsteps behind me. They were quick. Purposeful. "Sir." "Excuse me, sir." I turned around. It was the waiter, the same young man who had served me earlier. He held a small slip of paper in his hand. "You forgot your copy," he said gently, offering it out to me. I looked at the receipt. Then back at him. For a second, I was confused. Then I remembered. I took the paper. Nodded once. Said thank you. and walked toward my car. But that moment, those 5 seconds, shattered everything inside me. Because that receipt wasn't for my grilled chicken. It was for the entire banquet. The champagne. The steaks. The dessert cart. All of it. 2 weeks earlier, I had called the restaurant. Asked to prepay a private event. I gave them my card information. Said it was for a family dinner. A surprise gift. I told them not to mention it to anyone. I had hoped, deep down, that paying for the whole thing might mean something. Not a reward. Not a thank you. Just a moment. A moment where someone might remember I existed. Instead, they raised their glasses to each other. Called it a night full of love. Posted group photos online. Smiling. Toasting. Celebrating a togetherness that never included me. And I had paid for it. Every glass of wine. Every laugh. Every bite of steak. I sat in my car for a long time, receipt in my lap. I stared at the total. $684.50. A week's worth of groceries. 2 months of gas. Part of my rent. Gone. Spent on people who couldn't spare a seat. My fingers curled around the paper, crumpling it slowly. Not in anger. Not even in regret. Just resignation. I whispered to myself. That's the price of love, I guess. Then I laughed. It came out strange. Bitter. Hollow. It echoed in the empty car like someone else's voice. You know what hurts the most? Not the money. Not the silence. It's that they'll never know. They'll never know that the meal they raved about came from me. That the warmth they shared was funded by someone left in the cold. That while they toasted to the ones who matter, the one who paid for it was sitting alone, watching from the outside. The receipt fluttered from my lap to the floorboard. I didn't pick it up. I started the engine. And drove home through the quiet streets of Denver, headlights painting soft lines across the snow. It was strange. To give everything. And be nothing. When I got home that night, I didn't turn on the lights. I sat in the dark, coat still on, keys still in my hand. The silence was deafening. My apartment was small. Just enough space for a life that didn't take up much room. A twin bed. A 2-seater couch. 1 pan, 1 plate. No one had ever been here. Not family. Not friends. No one ever asked. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the receipt again. It was slightly damp now. Wrinkled. Creased. Still readable. $684.50. I laid it on the kitchen table. The same table where I once ate Thanksgiving dinner alone. Microwaved stuffing. Grocery store turkey. I remembered that year clearly. It was the year Mom said they just wanted to keep it small. But later I saw the photos online. It wasn't small. Just exclusive. I was always excluded. But never distant. Always the first to show up when someone was in trouble. Always the first to say, it's okay, when they forgot again. When Noah's wife had her miscarriage, he didn't want to talk to anyone. I drove 3 hours to leave a note and a meal on his porch. He never responded. When Mom's medical bill came after her second surgery, she was panicked. Dad didn't have enough saved. Neither did my siblings. I drained my savings and sent it anonymously. I still remember her saying, some angel must be watching over me. I was that angel. And I never got invited to Christmas that year. There was a time when I told myself that love meant sacrifice. That giving without expecting anything in return was noble. But now I wonder if I was just a fool. I opened my phone and scrolled through my photos. Not many. Mostly receipts. Screenshots. Notes. But there was one photo. Me and Mom. I was 6. She was smiling. Her hand was resting on my shoulder. It was the last photo I had where I looked included. I stared at that photo for a long time. It was worn at the edges. I had looked at it too many times, hoping it meant something. I once asked her, years ago, why she never called me like she called the others. She smiled and said, "You're strong, Eli. You don't need as much." She was wrong. I needed it. I just never said so. Because when you grow up being the strong one, no one checks if you're okay. They just assume you are. I walked to the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. Dark circles under my eyes. Beard slightly uneven. The kind of face you pass on the street without remembering. I whispered, "Why do I keep doing this?" But the mirror had no answer. Just the same tired reflection I'd been carrying for years. It hit me then. I wasn't trying to be part of their world anymore. I was just trying to prove I existed. To be remembered. Even if only through a transaction. Even if only as a name on a receipt. That was the cost of love for me. Not flowers. Not cards. Just sacrifice and silence. And no matter how much I gave, it was never enough to buy my way in. The next morning, the snow had thickened. Everything outside looked soft, quiet, untouched. It felt ironic, how beautiful the world could look when you felt so invisible inside it. I made coffee. Not because I wanted it. But because routine was one of the few things I had left. I poured it into the chipped mug I'd used for years. The one no one ever saw. The one no one ever asked about. I sat at the table again, across from the wrinkled receipt. I stared at it for a while before finally folding it, slow, precise, and sliding it into a drawer. Not out of sight. Just out of reach. Like most of my life. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A message. From my sister. "Hey, just saw the group photo. Didn't even realize you weren't there. Hope you're doing okay. Red heart." I stared at it. 3 sentences. No question. No apology. Just a soft tap on the surface of a deep wound. I didn't reply. I didn't need to anymore. Later that evening, I went to the grocery store. Picked up a few things, nothing fancy. Some chicken. Bread. Wine. A small cake that said, "Celebrate You," in shaky blue frosting. At checkout, the cashier smiled. "Birthday?" I hesitated, then said, "Something like that." When I got home, I set the table. Not the counter. The table. I laid out a single place setting. Cloth napkin. Fork. Knife. Wine glass. The whole thing. And next to the plate, I placed the old photo of Mom and me. The one from when I was 6. The last time I remembered being someone's favorite. Then I sat down. Alone. And I ate. No one knocked. No one called. No surprise visitors. Just me. And for the first time in years. That felt okay. I wasn't celebrating being forgotten. I was honoring the boy who tried so hard to be remembered. I toasted with the cheap red wine. Raised my glass. And whispered. To the ones who never had a seat, but showed up anyway. Across the table, the empty chair didn't feel empty tonight. It felt earned. I didn't need their table. I'd finally built my own.